Students,
Ma'am.
good morning.
Good morning.
Shall we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Whole batch, how many students? 130?
36. Miss.
36. Now 114. Shall we start or wait few more minutes?
Uh,
Good morning. We will start. Today we are going to study about demonstration of ignition system. We will move to introduction part. You already know we have two type of ignition engine, isn't it? Spark ignition engine and compression ignition engine. In the spark ignition engine, where we use spark ignition engine? Students?
petrol engine.
Yes.
Petrol
Spark-
engine.
Yes. Spark ignition engine we use in the petrol engine. Compression ignition engine?
Diesel.
Diesel engine.
Diesel engine.
Yes. So we have two type of ignition engine. In the spark ignition engine, we used external spark to produce the combustion process. In case of compression ignition engine, we used air fuel mixture and that one compressed inside the chamber, then that one created ignition, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. In the ignition system, we conserve the energy. We provide the external source, that one released by chemical reaction and also exposed as a thermal energy. First note it down, these two slides. Shall I change?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Note this slide as well. Shall I move? Students, shall I move?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, next we will see requirement of ignition system. We have some requirements such as this ignition system should provide good spark between the electrodes. We will discuss this one later in the mechanism. Then it should be functioning efficiently over the entire range of engine speed and light, effective and reliable in services, compact and easy maintenance, and cheap and convenient to handle. These are some requirements of an ignition system. Quickly note it down, only the keywords enough. Good spark between the electrodes, then functioning efficiently, like, right? Important points only. Shall I move?
Just
Then we will move to type of ignition system. We have 4 type of ignition systems such as battery, magneto, electronic, and diesel engine ignition system. We will discuss one by one later. Write these 4 types in your notebook. Okay. First, we will study about battery ignition system. This is the line diagram of this battery ignition system. We have ignition switch, battery ignition coil, ballast resistor, contact breaker, distributor, capacitor, and spark plugs. These are the components of this battery ignition system. I will explain in the mechanism of this ignition system later. Now we will move to battery. So in here, this battery is used to supply the initial current to this ignition system. We have 6 volts or 12 volt or 24 volt, like we have certain type of batteries, and we have two type of batteries such as lead acid battery, alkaline battery, and also in the modern vehicles we used zinc acid batteries and lithium batteries. In your discussion part, you have to discuss or write about these 4 type of batteries feature. Okay, understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Note it down. In the discussion part, I will repeat. In the discussion part, you want to write about this lead acid battery, alkaline battery, zinc acid battery, and lithium batteries. Understood? One person sent one message. Okay. Shall I move?
Yes, ma'am.
Then ignition coil. In the ignition coil, we have 2 type of windings, primary winding and secondary winding. In the primary winding, the main function of this winding is to route the power from the source. I will discuss this one later. Then secondary winding has more turn of wire than this primary winding. Here, number of turns of wire near to 1000. This one higher than the primary winding. Understood?
Yes.
Note it down. Quickly note it down. This is the figure of the ignition coil. This one is real specimen. This one is the cross-sectional figure of that ignition coil. Here you can see this outer part is the primary coil. Inside we have secondary coil. Okay. AG19. Which slide you need? Previous slide mean?
No, ma'am, this slide. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Sketch this primary coil and secondary coil for your understanding. Next component is contact breaker. Contact breaker regulated by the camshaft of that engine. When contact breaker is open, current flows through the capacitor and charge it. I will discuss this one later. Only write this function of this contact breaker. Then this figure shows the contact breaker. This is the real specimen of contact breaker. Then cam is connected with north and south magnet in the Magneto ignition system. Okay. Then capacitor main function of this capacitor is to store the charger or current. Then ignition switch, we use this ignition switch avoid the damage of excessive air. This ignition switch commonly found to the parallel of the capacitor. Okay. Then ignition distributor. This one basic component of ignition system is ignition distributor. This one distribute high voltage to the spark plug. This is the main function of this ignition distributor. What's the main function of this ignition distributor?
Distribute the ignition voltage to spark.
Spark plug. This is the main function. We will discuss this one later. Then spark plug. Spark plug. This is a device. You already know this one. Spark plug. Spark plug is found in the combustion chamber, isn't it? Then this spark plug is a device for delivering electric current from an ignition system to the combustion chamber. After that only the ignition of fuel air mixture happen, isn't it? Then this is the diagram of the spark plug. Then ballast resistor. This one commonly found in old automobile vehicles. Okay, this one found between the ignition switch and ignition coil. Okay, write those slides. This one completed now.
Yes.
This one also completed. Then write this one. Shall I change?
Yes.
Shall I move? Anyone, do you need more time? Students?
No, ma'am.
No need to write these three sentences, only write this one found in the old automobile vehicles and found between ignition switch and ignition coil. Okay, I already discussed with you in the battery ignition system. Spark will produce with the help of battery. Generally, four-wheel vehicles we used, but nowadays we used in two-wheel vehicles also. Here we use 6 voltage or 12 voltage batteries to supply the current. Okay, then we will move to working principle of battery ignition system. This one is very important for you. Okay, I will explain. Okay, this one battery, this one ignition switch, this one primary winding coil, this one secondary winding, this one is the contact breaker, this one capacitor, then this one distributors, this one spark plugs. Okay, first we switch on this ignition switch. What will happen? Current pass through this battery and reach to this primary winding coil. Isn't it? Students, understood up to this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Then after that, here magnetic, when current peak, this automatically this camshaft is open the contact breaker. At that time, passing of current is stopped due to this circuit open now. So current passing is stopped. Advanced level you already studied. If the current pass through the winding, that place we can observe electromagnetic field, isn't it? In the advanced level we already studied, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So before switch off, here we observe the magnetic field. When the current here peak, that time we switch off this circuit open. That time here current pass is stopped. At that time, here in the secondary winding coil, we generate the high voltage due to this magnetic field. That high voltage pass through this circuit, then come these distributors. Okay, then this distributor contact, if contact this number 1, okay, assume this one number 1, this one number 2, 3, 4. We have 4 spark plugs. So if this distributor contact this number 1, that high voltage pass through this line and reach this spark plug number 1. Here we can observe the spark. Understood?
Yes.
Anyone, do you have any clarification? Here, 2 stages. First one, contact breaker open and contact breaker closed. Okay. Here, this is the working principle. I already explained. When the contact breaker point closed, the circuit is closed when the ignition switch is put on. Then current build up a magnetic field in the primary winding coils. When the primary current is peak, when the primary current is peak in the primary coil, at that time contact breaker point will be open. Then we move next stage, contact breaker point open. At that time magnetic field is collapsed in the primary winding place because current pass is stopped now. Then at the time we can observe high voltage. That one generate in the secondary winding coil. Then that high voltage pass through the distributor. Then that rotor direct this voltage to individual spark. I already discussed with you. Assume 1, 2, 3, 4 like. Then according to this distributor contact, the spark high voltage pass to the 1, 2, 3 and 4 spark plugs. Then this firing happen according to this order. Understood or not this concept? Students?
Understood, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So first draw this line diagram in your notebook. One student asked to repeat again So I will explain again. Okay, I will discuss with you with diagram. Okay. This one, battery. If we switch on this ignition switch, what will happen? The current pass through this line, isn't it? This one come through this way and reach here. At the time, here we have current passing. Due to this current passing, we can observe the magnetic field here because we have winding. Okay, due to this current passing, I already explained, magnetic field you can observe. If after that, insert a particular time, we observe the peak current pass, the amount of current is very high. At that time, this cam is open this circuit. Okay, this one open. If open, what will happen? Current can't pass through this way. Then magnetic field also collapse. Due to that collapse, we can obtain high voltage in this secondary coil. Secondary winding, we can observe high voltage. In this voltage, pass through this line and reach this distributor. Okay, I already discussed with you. You assume this one 1, 2, 3, this one 4. If this distributor contact this number 1, what will happen? This high voltage pass through this way and reach this number 1 spark plug. Then spark will produce in between that gap. Then if this distributor contact move number 2, what will happen? The high voltage pass through this way and reach this number 2. Then voltage pass through this spark plug number 2. Then spark, we can observe the spark. Understood? 2020-109. Understood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Students, anyone, do you need more time to draw this line diagram?
No.
Students, I couldn't hear you.
No, miss.
Shall I change?
Yes.
Then write these 2 stages and steps. Shall we move to advantage and disadvantage of this battery ignition system? Shall I change?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, then we will discuss advantages of battery ignition system. First one, intensity of spark is very good in this battery ignition system. Then it can provide high concentration of spark even in low engine speed or starting of engine. That time also this battery ignition system provide high concentration of spark. Then maintenance is very less compared to other ignition system. We have Magneto, then diesel. Other one is what? I discussed with you 4 type of ignition system. First one battery, other one
magnetic,
third one
electronic,
Electronic and diesel.
diesel. Yeah. First write these advantages of battery ignition system. Then disadvantages of battery ignition system. First one is if the spark intensity is reduced, efficiency of this ignition system also reduced. That one is first disadvantage. Then this battery ignition system occupy more space than other types. Then last one is we have to maintain this one intervally because we used battery here now. So if the charge of this battery is reduced, we have to change the battery, isn't it? So we need to maintain. We have to maintain this battery ignition system. These 3 are disadvantages of this battery ignition system. Note it down. (2020) AE168. Nimasha. Nimasha, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Namasha, can you explain this battery ignition system? Working principle of this battery ignition system. Can you? What happened in the coil? Can you? Manushi, are you available in the class? Manushi,
Yes, ma'am.
can you explain? Sorry. I couldn't hear you. Manushi,
Yes, ma'am.
can you
Ma'am, I couldn't hear because of the connection issue.
okay. So 2020 AG002, Purni,
Yes, ma'am.
can you explain?
Current is passing from the battery when the ignition switch is closed. Then that current is passing through the primary coil. When it is passing through the primary coil, there occurs a magnetic
Yeah, that one produced electromagnetic field.
electromagnetic field. Then
If peak
if the
current, if peak current observe that time, contact breaker
will
open.
And then the because of the magnetic field, secondary winding coil occurs
Produce high voltage.
Produce a high voltage
Because of here magnetic field collapse now. Therefore, in the secondary winding coil, we observed high voltage. Okay, continue.
Then the current is passing to the distributor.
Not current, voltage.
Sorry, voltage is passing to the distributor when it is goes to the first place.
Yeah.
Then
we observed spark in the
spark
plug.
Number one. Then it is moving to second place. We can observe current in we can observe spark in spark plug number 2.
Okay, like thank you. Good, thank you. Okay. Anyone, do you need more time to write advantages and disadvantages of battery ignition system? Shall we move next?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you understood this battery ignition system, magneto and electronic ignition system is very simple. Okay. In the magneto ignition system, instead of battery, in battery ignition system, we used battery, no, instead of that battery, here we use this magneto. Understood? Instead of battery, we used magnetic here. This one produce the current. Okay, I will discuss with you that one later. First, You see, magneto ignition system is an ignition system in which magneto is used for the generation of electricity, and further that electricity is used in several things like to run vehicles. Okay, instead of battery we use here magneto. Basically we use this magneto ignition system two-wheel vehicles. Okay, then this is the real specimen of this magneto. Here this one is the condenser, this one is contact breaker, ignition coil, then this one is the armature, this one is magnet. Okay, first write this one. Anyone, do you need more time to sketch this figure? Shall we move to mechanism of this magneto ignition system? Shall we?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, this is the line diagram of this magneto ignition system. Okay, here I already told you this one is the magnet, this one is the armature. This red color indicate as the primary coil, then this one is yellow color one, secondary coil. This one is ignition switch. Instead of battery, here we use the magnet. In the advanced level, we already studied if one magnet rotate, that one can produce electricity or current, isn't it? If this rotating magnet can produce the current. That current pass to this primary coil. Then this primary coil come attached with this ignition switch, isn't it? If you on the ignition switch, current pass through this, produce current pass through this, come through this way and reach this contact breaker. Same thing happened here. If we observed peak current, at that time we have electromagnetic field here. If we observe peak current, this contact breaker open. At the time, current passes stop. So electromagnetic field is collapsed here. Due to that, high voltage observed in this secondary coil. I already explained to you. Then this high voltage pass through this way and come to this distributors. Then spark occur in the spark plug cap. Understood? Anyone, do you have any clarification? Only we change here Magneto. We used magnetic. Anyone, do you have any clarification? Other mechanisms are same. Anyone? Understood or not?
Understood, ma'am.
Can you explain?
Sorry.
Can you explain again, ma'am?
Okay. I already told you, no. In the battery ignition system, we used battery to produce current. Here, we use this rotating magnet. In the advanced level, we already studied if the rotating magnet can produce the current. That current pass through this way. Understood? Who is that person? Ask again.
Yes, ma'am. Understood, ma'am.
Okay. First, write this construction of this magneto ignition system. I already explained this system consists of a rotating magnet assembly driven by an engine and fixed armature. The armature consists of primary and secondary winding, that red color and yellow color one. Then primary circuits consist of primary winding, condenser and contact breaker. Here you can see in the primary circuit, primary winding, this red color one, then condenser, then contact breaker. In the secondary circuit, you can observe the secondary coil, secondary winding, then this yellow color one, distributor, then spark plugs. Okay, this is the construction of this magneto ignition system. draw this line diagram. Indicate all the parts. One person asked previous slides. That's why I changed, huh? (2020 AG19). Have you finished?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone, do you need more time? Shall I change?
Okay, ma'am.
This one you already wrote under battery ignition system. So I will change, huh? This one no need, the same sentence. The principle same, no? So shall I change? Friends? So we move to application of Magneto ignition system. This system is used for the generation of electricity and run the vehicles. This is basically used in two-wheeler vehicles. I already told you. Here we used rotating magnet to produce high voltage and electricity. Then we used these magneto-ignition system various places like factors and other machines. Write only key points. Then advantages of magneto-ignition system. This one less maintenance than the battery ignition system because we need to change the battery there. But here we no need to change because we used here magnetic. Then we need less space. Then efficiency improves due to high intensity spark. Here, write these advantages. Then disadvantages of magneto-ignition system. During starting, the quality of spark is poor due to low speed, then little expensive compared to another ignition system. These two are the disadvantages of magneto-ignition system. Then we will move to electronic ignition system. Here, this system fully controlled by electronically. Here, we used armature instead of contact breaker. In the battery ignition system and magneto ignition system, we used contact breaker. Open and close, we used no the contact breaker. That one here we don't use that one. Here instead of that contact breaker, here we used armatures. Here we observe strong spark than other two type of ignition system. Okay. Then these are the components of this electronic ignition system. This one is spark plugs, distributor, then primary and secondary winding, then battery. Here additionally, we used armatures and electrical control modules. We control this ignition system using the electronics. Okay. Then armatures. I already discussed with you. Instead of contact breaker, we used armature. This one is the generate magnetic field in this electronic ignition system. Okay, I will discuss this one later. First, write these slides. Up to this point, do you have any clarification? Battery and Magneto ignition system? Anyone? Students, please respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any clarification?
No, ma'am.
Okay. No need to draw this line diagram, only list out these components. Okay, we will discuss the working principle behind electronic ignition system by using this line diagram. Okay, here you can see this one is the armature, this one spark plug, ignition coil. Inside this ignition coil we have primary and secondary windings. Then additionally here we have electronic control module. This electronic control module fully controlled by electronically. Then this one is ignition switch, this one is battery. Here this one is magnetic pickup. Okay, I will tell you what's happened here. First, if we switch on this ignition switch, current pass through this line and reach to this electronic modules. Then that current pass through this way and reach to this armature. Here we have magnetic pickup. Here we generate the magnetic power or voltage. Due to this magnetic field, we can create the voltage signal. So if this armature like this donut part or this sharp edge, this edge, if near to this magnetic pickup, voltage signal is produced here. That one pass through this electronic control module, then that one pass through this ignition coil, then pass through this way and reach this distributor. Then that voltage pass through this spark plug. We have the armature instead of contact breaker. In the magnetic and battery ignition system, the camshaft used to switch on, open and close the contact breaker. Here, this one totally controlled by electronic control module. If this portion come here, that time the signal is stopped. Then this portion, this donut come to this place, again signal will create, then pass. According to this scenario, on and off, the same function as contact breaker. Signal on, then off, signal on, then off. According to that, we can create the voltage inside the ignition coil. Then that high voltage pass through this distributor, then pass through this spark plug. Understood, students?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So draw this line diagram in your book. Shall I change? I already explained the working principle of electronic ignition system. Write only the key points. Have you all written these two slides? Working principle of electronic ignition system. Shall I change? Students, please respond.
Yes, ma'am.
Then, advantages of electronic ignition system. Here, few moving parts and less maintenance, less emission. Efficiency is very good than other methods, other systems. Also, we can increase the fuel efficiency. These are the advantages of electronic ignition system. Then disadvantage is this one, very expensive than other three systems. Note it down. We will move last one, diesel engine ignition system. Here I will explain about four-stroke compression ignition system. We have four-stroke in the four-stroke engine. No? First one intake, second one compression, then power, exhaust. Isn't it? You may already studied. Then I will explain using this diagram. First one, intake. During intake time, intake valve open. At the time, the fresh air come inside this chamber. Then compression. During this time, piston move upward. At the time, intake valve and outlet or exhaust valve closed. If this piston move upward, what will happen to this air? This air will compress. If compressed, what will happen to that air? Air temperature will increase inside this chamber. Then power stroke. At that time, fuel injector spray the diesel into this chamber. Here, very high temperature of compressed air. Then, if we spray the fuel, what will happen? That fuel will ignite. Then power produced. The final step is exhaust. During this time, the piston move upward. At that time, exhaust valve will open. So, the burn air and other things send out through this exhaust valve. This one is happen inside this diesel ignition system. In the animation, you can see clearly. Intake, then compression, power stroke, then exhaust. Understood? Students? Students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, write the first one, intake. Piston is descending on its intake stroke, moving downward. Then the pure air come into the cylinder. In the valve open that time exhaust valve closed. Second one is compression. Piston move upward. At the time, pressure 30 to 45 kilogram per centimeter square. Air is progressively compressed in the cylinder. Its temperature increases. I already explained to you. At the time, nearly 650 to 800 degrees C. At the time, we injected the fuel. Then combustion will occur. Then power stroke. During this stroke, the hot products of combustion consisting chiefly of carbon dioxide together with nitrogens. This compressed air expand. Due to that, the piston move downward. During exhaust stroke, this outlet valve open. All burn gases went out through this exhaust valve. Then we will move to advantages of diesel engine. We can use huge variety of fuel for this diesel engine. Then low cost compared to petrol. Diesel cost is low, no? So cost effective. Then we can use this one for the lubrication properties. Then high energy density than other methods. Then low risk of fire. If we use petrol, it may fire, but this diesel, we can reduce that effect. Then biodiesel is also easily synthesized. So we can use for this diesel engine. These are some advantages of diesel engine. Shall I change?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, anyone can you tell what we have done today? Anyone? What are the types we studied? What are the type of ignition system we
Magneto ignition system,
Battery ignition system, electric,
Di- diesel ignition system,
electronic ignition system.
electronic.
What is the difference between battery ignition system and magneto ignition system? Main difference between
battery ignition system, we use the power source as a battery.
battery, yeah.
Magneto ignition system, we use the armature
And magnetic.
magnet.
Yeah. So what is the difference between diesel ignition system than other three types? What's the difference in the diesel ignition system? Anyone? Diesel ignition system we used in the diesel engine. Other three types we used in the petrol engine, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Under the discussion part, you have to write ways of better maintenance of ignition system. And also, I already told one part, isn't it? You have to discuss about the type of batteries. Okay? In the discussion part.
okay, ma'am.
Understood?
Yes.
Okay, that's all today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
You, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.